with perfect clarity.
Hello, the weather's looking pretty mobile across the United States at the moment. A little bit of everything here, actually. We've got this cloud making its way out into the Atlantic. Some very wintry weather now in the process of clearing away from New England, eastern parts of Canada. Follow this weather system through. That's a cold front, quite a marked boundary as well. We're looking at temperatures on Wednesday in DC of only 4 Celsius. Similar values there for New York and for Chicago. Further south, well, 17 there for Atlanta. Still some warmth down into that southeastern quarter then, but the wintry weather will continue through the plains, through the prairies, western parts of Canada, Pacific Northwest, seeing some very wintry weather once again. It's brightening up for California, temperatures here at around 12, 13, maybe 14 degrees Celsius. So not brilliant, but at least it is dry and bright. Dry and bright too across a good part of the West Indies. Could see some heavy showers, mind you, just around Guyana, pushing up into Trinidad and Tobago, maybe into Grenada. I think for Barbados and for St Vincent should stay largely dry. As you can see, plenty of warm sunshine now. Kingston with a top temperature of around 29 Celsius. We've got some pleasant sunshine too into Central Europe, but it's of a crisp nature. -5 the top temperature here in Berlin. So wintry weather around, certainly over towards the east. Milder weather coming into the west. And as this mild weather hits the cold air, it turns to snow.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
All the news, all the time. AlJazeera.net/English.
It's filled with surprises, yet with a touch of the familiar. It's all those things you imagined, and some you didn't. It intrigues and fascinates, and often delights. It's a story of the world, and it's one with many endings. The 5-star global network. Fly to over 90 destinations on board one of the world's youngest fleets. Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
On the next Riz Khan show, as world leaders condemn Libya's use of force against protesters, what's really at stake for Western nations with close ties to Muammar Gaddafi? Riz Khan, at this time on Al Jazeera.
This is Al Jazeera.
Hello and welcome to the News Hour, live from Doha. I'm Taimur Nabili and from Al Jazeera's news centres in Doha and London, with live and continuing coverage of Libya's uprising, these are the main headlines. In his first major speech since the unrest began, Libya's longtime leader refuses to quit.
I will not leave the country, and I will die as a martyr at the end.
But on the streets of Tripoli, those calling for Muammar Gaddafi to go are met with lethal force.
Hello, I'm Felicity Barr in London. We'll have European reaction to the growing crisis in Libya, including in London, where hundreds of protesters gathered outside the residence of the British Prime Minister.
Meanwhile, nations scramble to get their citizens out of the country as production in Libya falters in the lucrative oil industry. Well, it's now 9 p.m. in Libya, where 6 million citizens have had the opportunity to hear directly from their leader for the first time since the crisis began. Muammar Gaddafi spoke for 75 minutes, 25 minutes shy of his marathon speech at the UN General Assembly in 2009. But the tone was similar. Meanwhile, pro-democracy campaigners inside and outside the country are still calling for the leader of more than 40 years to step down. But Colonel Gaddafi made it perfectly clear he won't be doing so by choice.
Muammar Gaddafi is not the president, he is a leader of a revolution. He has nothing to lose. Revolution means always sacrifice until the end of life. This is my country, the country of my great-grandfathers. We planted and we watered it with our grandfather's blood. We deserve Libya from those rats and agents. Who are these agents who are being paid by security vessels? God curse them, damn them. I will not leave the country, and I will die, and I will die as a martyr at the end. Those who commit crime against the army, anybody who shall be handed the death sentence, who works for a foreign country, that undermines the defense of the country. We not blame the youth. It's when they are caught and prosecuted, they will be begging for mercy, and this time we will not be so merciful. We will not be forgiving. I salute you, and you put before the world the real pictures of the Libyan people, that you've gone out. You give the truth, which being that the agents and cowardice trying to distort, to cover it, to give a wrong picture of you before the world. Some Arab medias depict you as a bad people. We challenge America with its mighty power. We challenge even the superpower in the world, and we became victory. Here they put their heads down. Libya even kissed the grave of the sheikh of all martyrs, Omar al-Mukhtar. It's not the victory for the cities of Libya, but the victory for Libyan people. I don't blame them, these youths. They are young people, 16, 17, 18. They are emulating what's happening in Tunisia. And they imitating what's happening in some cities, like they had about something a raid on a court building. They say we shall do it in our city, but there is a group that is, I feel they are sick, in a group giving money and these tablets, elimination tablets, to these young people, very young people, pushing them towards this side war.
Well, Gaddafi also said that he has not authorized the military to attack the protesters, but we are still getting reports of deadly force being used. Security forces loyal to the regime are said to be lashing out in an effort to stop the dissent. The army, though, is said to be wavering. Several officers are reportedly refusing to attack citizens, and some witnesses have told us that some people have been burned alive by mercenaries who are prepared to go to great lengths to keep them quiet. On the set with me, Ibrahim Shakir from the Brookings Doha Center for more on this. And we're sitting here to a large extent waiting to see what's going to happen next. People are on the streets. Gaddafi has pledged not to go and in many ways made it very clear that he's prepared to spill blood to keep his position. What do you think might happen next?
It's very interesting that he addressed in his speech, actually, that the enemy or those who are planning against him are the mercenaries, while Gaddafi is using, we have seen